Hello and welcome to From Digital to D&D. In this series, a character from fiction is taken and given a usable stat block for you to use in your games of Dungeons & Dragons. For those of you unaware, each episode of this series will be broken down into the following sections. The character introduction, where I attempt to explain the background of the character. The feature breakdown, where I point out what aspects of the character I'll be attempting to convert. The stat block, where the stat block is shown off and certain elements are discussed. And finally, the plot hooks, where I explain possible uses for the character in your games of D&D. Naturally, any character that features in this series belongs to their respective owners. An ancient power stirs, slowly approaching with a thirst for blood. The Prince of Darkness himself has arrived. Behold, Count Dracula. Dracula likely requires little introduction. The most famous vampire in the world first appeared in Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, but the legend of the vampire dates back far beyond the story of Dracula, with stories of humanoids feasting on blood being found all over history. Whilst Dracula may not be the oldest iteration of a vampire, his sway over modern vampires is undeniable. Iconic traits associated with vampires became popularised by Dracula, and he's appeared in countless films, books, games and more. The Lord of the Night has so many iterations it is hard to pick just one. So, this version of Dracula will be an amalgamation of different Draculas, my own spin. So, let us break down what vampiric aspects of Dracula I'll be using, shall we? Vampires are nothing new to D&D. If you've played the game long enough, you'll have encountered some form of vampire, be it a lowly spawn or the legendary Strahd von Zarovich himself. But Dracula is attributed as one of the strongest and oldest vampires beyond the powers of a normal vampire. He's still an undead creature of the night who must consume the blood of the living to survive and shares some traits with other vampires, but that is like saying a Mini shares traits with a Ferrari. They're both cars, but there are more differences than there are similarities. The countless ages of undeath have granted Dracula with unmatched knowledge that has let him ascend. Recent versions of Dracula show him as harnessing technology and magic far beyond the common person's capabilities, showing that in his spare time, Dracula is a scholar. And with eternity to endure, that makes sense. Sure, sunlight may still harm him, but unlike other vampires, Dracula has ways of circumventing the light of day. Blocking the sun with clouds is simple and achievable with a single spell. And if it isn't possible, the will of Dracula is so strong that he can blot out the sun for a time. He is stronger, faster, wiser, and deadlier than a simple vampire. A vampire spawn can kill a commoner with one swipe. Dracula can kill a vampire spawn with one swipe. His magical knowledge has few rivals, and each spell he wields is done so with complete mastery. His mastery of undeath is so grand that other creatures of the night cannot help but bow to him. And for those who try to defy the Prince of Darkness, do not do so for long. Count Dracula truly is the greatest vampire to walk the earth. Tackling a behemoth of a being like Dracula was tricky but not impossible. Strahd is meant to be the pinnacle of a vampire, which means he serves as a wonderful foundation. You're more than welcome to peruse the stat sheet at your own leisure, but there are a few points to highlight. Starting off, Dracula does not suffer all the weaknesses of a normal vampire. Sunlight and running water can still harm him, but he can force himself into a home and withstand a stake to the heart. His durability is legendary, and his power is on par with some archdevils and demon lords. The spell list available to Dracula is quite extensive and full of ways to inflict torment, but Dracula's true power is his sheer might. He can unleash a flurry of attacks which all pack quite a punch. His basic strike deals an average of 36 damage, which lets him bring the pain on any fool who would dare strike him. And that is assuming whoever is attacking can get through the swarms of bats, rats, wolves and undead that Dracula summons. Despite his impressive power, Dracula is also masterful at stealth, being invisible in the darkness to those who have dark vision. And in the event Dracula is pushed back, his mythic trait lets him continue the struggle whilst plunging the area into darkness. It is no wonder why other beings flock to Dracula and worship him, for he is near to a god in power. And, if the Dark Lord wishes, he could bestow a gift to his followers. How? In the form of a special trait for cultists of Dracula. Agent of Death allows the creature to potentially return from death after sunset, unless their body was bathed in divine power, of course. But there is another vital element of Dracula to discuss: his castle. The home of the Count is a dark and terrible place, the sight of it able to inspire fear in any who see it. And whilst within the walls of the castle, Dracula can use lair actions. They range from simple displays of power to shrouding the vampire in an armour of shadows. And that is not all. The castle is so infused with dark power that it infects the land around it. Superstition rises, creatures of the night gather, plants wither, shadows come to life, and so much more just from the presence of Dracula's castle. Should he choose to, he can conduct powerful rituals to blot out the sun or teleport the whole castle. It would take a true team of powerful legends to even have the slightest chance of slaying Dracula. Dracula is a very special figure in fiction, as his name can set the tone of an entire story. Though he is far beyond them, Dracula is still a vampire. He needs blood to survive, and his heart is gripped by darkness. You may choose to play him as having some humanity in his unbeating heart, but he is still Count Dracula. Similar to Strahd, Dracula comes off as an aristocrat, a man of high society. But he can fly into a monstrous fury at a moment's notice. With all this power, it would be impossible to not have an ego of some kind. After all, everyone else is so tiny when compared to Dracula's power. As for using him in a campaign, he best serves as one of two roles. The first role is as the big bad himself. You can't get as classic of a BBEG as Count Dracula himself. I mean, come on. The Prince of Darkness, Lord of Shadows, Master of the Night, all of those sound like BBEG titles to me. Those of you who have seen Castlevania will know the perfect use for him in terms of as an antagonistic force. Dracula has appeared and unleashed legions of monsters upon a region. He must be stopped. A simple and classic story. The party work their way up the ranks of Dracula's cult until they reach the vampire himself. But as a CR25 monster, it will be a hell of a fight. So, like with Strahd and his module, perhaps the party can collect certain boons to help them in the fight. But I have another idea for using Dracula as BBG, and that... have Dracula be dead already. It isn't impossible for Dracula to have been slain by ancient heroes, but now minions of darkness are at work to restore their master. The whole campaign can revolve around stopping the resurrection, and should the party fail, Count Dracula will live again. The other use is for a very special encounter. Perhaps the party on a quest for knowledge and learn only one place has the information they seek: Dracula's castle. The party need to infiltrate the castle, but the home of Count Dracula is hard to find. They must first locate it and then reach it. If they're lucky, Dracula may decide to let them live. Maybe the threat they need knowledge of would be irksome for Dracula, so letting the party have the knowledge they seek helps him whilst letting him do nothing. That is, of course, the party agree to his terms, whatever they may be. If the party are foolish enough to engage him, let his mere presence weigh in the air. It may be simple ideas, but there is a reason Dracula is a classic D&D antagonist. But with that, we've reached the end of today's video. Before you head off, I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you managed to get something out of this. If you feel like helping out, you can become a patron. The stat block for Count Dracula is available on D&D Beyond for free, and the link to it is in the description. I hope you all have a great day, and may your dice roll favourably. Goodbye for now.